right away.
Hmm.
So now we are live.
Perfect.
Welcome to another episode of Books and Beyond, our lovely virtual book club that we've been doing for quite some time now. We're at episode number 28, which is a great milestone for this project. I am your host, Thinka, and we have today our special guest, Renaud, who is here to talk about presentation sprint. And I have my sprinting shoes on, ready to go.
Hmm.
Whenever you are ready, Renaud, I appreciate your time today to have this conversation. Very keen to hear more about presentation sprint. We're
Hmm.
recording, so folks, when you see this, please do feel free to share your feedback. It will be posted on LinkedIn and will be posted on the PMO Leader YouTube channel, actually live streaming right now for whoever is watching. And any questions that you have in follow up, please do feel free to touch base with myself or Renaud via LinkedIn, and we'll post a few more relevant links that we can keep connected on. But without further ado, Renaud, if you would like to say a few words first.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share with you all about this presentation sprint framework. Just a couple of words about myself. So, as you say, my name is Renaud. It's French. It's pronounced like the brand car. I'm currently living in Slovakia, and I'm a presentation coach. Of course, I didn't start like that. I study project management in college. Then I went on to work a couple of years in the communication agencies in New York and in Paris. After some time, I decided to move to the customer side, and I would join a big corporation as a communication manager. And that's where I learned about the horror, the disasters of PowerPoint and presentation. And that's also where I created this presentation sprint framework.
Wonderful. And it seems like traveling throughout all these regions probably gave you a very good insight as to what, in general, each culture is looking for or
Yes.
mistaking on when it
Yeah,
comes.
and some they are not perceiving or receiving the framework the same way. We will have, I'm sure, opportunity to talk about it. But it's really interesting the way culture and education influence the way we see presentation and communication in general.
Okay, okay. And then you also wrote a book, not just created a framework,
Yes,
right? You have it right there behind you,
yes, I
the
have.
presentation sprint book. So
Mhm.
what is presentation sprint as your creation? How do
Yeah,
you
well, my creation. Presentation sprint, it's a framework, it's a three-step process to create quickly great presentation, mostly business presentation. So the three-step everyone knows in your audience, they all know it, they just don't apply it to presentation. The first thing you do is you think. You think about your message and the story you will be telling. Then when it's ready, when you know exactly what you want to say, you build. You build the script, but also the slides. And after that, after the think and the build, you have the delivery where you deliver the presentation, you and answer question, you have some demo and stuff like that. So that's a three-step process to do really quickly great presentation that have a huge impact.
Wow, that's amazing. If everybody could just kind of take in all this information and, starting with
Yes.
that first component, think. I
Yes.
I personally know that I'm guilty of not thinking
Mhm.
enough when making presentations. So,
That's common. A lot of people just, they run straight to PowerPoint or Canva, whatever they have, and they start putting everything this in their mind. There's this lack of intentionality. It's oh, I know what I want to say. I go it, but at no point they stop and say, wait, who is my audience? What do I want them to remember or to do? That's something that we usually don't do, and that's why we have the quality that we have now when it comes to business presentation.
so you call it sprint. Can
Yes.
you talk a bit more about how that fits into the framework?
Yeah, sure. So it's a sprint in a way that it's short and focused. It's not a marathon. In business, we spend way too much time preparing slides and presentation in general. We could spend hours for something that usually is not that good. So by saying it's a sprint, I want people to realize that they don't have to spend hours on it. They can be really quick if they follow a certain steps. So you still have a bunch of activity to do, but it's short activity, and you go as fast as you can through these activities to quickly have a first version of the presentation that you can start rehearsing, practicing, testing, and improving. So that's why I call it a sprint, so people understand that it's short and focused.
which I think everybody probably appreciates, especially with some of the roles out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. It's the bar is really low in general, and I really believe that uh, especially manager, project manager, product manager, people manager, they don't have time to spend on presentation. It's not they are not professional speaker, they are professional who need to communicate, to speak, to influence. So the fastest they go on the presentation, the better it is, so they can focus on what is really important on the side.
That's totally appreciate that. How was the concept born?
So as I say, I was working as a communication manager in a big corporation, an international company with thousands of employees. And as a communication manager, I was doing a lot of presentation. That's one of the other problem. We do presentation for everything. It's like every time you need to officialize something or to communicate, you will do a presentation. That's a terrible idea, but that's the way it is. So I was doing a lot of presentation for myself, but also for colleagues that I was helping in their communication. And I realized that we were basically doing the same thing every time, asking the same question, but never the same way. We're really winging it. We didn't know what we're doing. We're just, as I said earlier, rushing through it. And I didn't see all the best practice that I saw in other domain from my past experience that were really helpful. So I figured that in order to improve my own presentation, I will just gather everything that I know from project management, from design thinking, from agility, and start to improve it slowly. So I start working, it start evolving into these three steps: the think, build, and deliver. And for each of them, I created tools in order to make it as practical as possible. So the tools for the think, where you're supposed to think about your message, your story, I have a canvas. The canvas is on one page. You have 10 questions. 10 questions that you need to answer even before opening PowerPoint or Canva or anything. It's just to make sure you know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. Then for the build, you have a workflow that tells you how to create scripts and slides, in which order, when to ask feedback, which feedback to ask, and so on. And after that, in the delivery, we have checklists to improve the public speaking, to reply efficiently to question, to manage the stress, to warm up your voice, your body, and so on. So again, three step: think, build, and deliver. Canvas for the think, workflow for the build, and checklist for the deliver. So that's how it all starts. It evolved. Of course, it took years to develop this. I was using it for my own presentation. I had a lot of success. Then I was using it for other people presentation. That's when I start coaching indirectly. But I knew I had something special when a manager with whom we work on a presentation, he sent me all his team to work on a presentation. And after working on this presentation, I found out that it was a made up presentation. They didn't have to do it at all. He just wanted his team to witness, to learn the tool, and to understand how was preparing this presentation. So that's when I thought, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe people want to know about it. And that's how I start communicating. That's how the idea of a book start emerging.
And you weren't upset that they didn't really have a presentation, were you?
Well, it was surprising. It was surprising. I was wondering why they didn't ask me directly to teach them, but I guess this store was really busy, and making presentation is always useful because again, in corporation, you will use it at some point. It was working on a presentation for one or the solution to. To present it to the whole company, a solution that they had developed. So they would be using it anyway in some shape or form. But at the time, they didn't need it. It was just okay. Let's prepare something with Renault, and we will see.
And I think it's also I find that this approach was smart in the sense of, sometimes colleagues, when you send them for training, people tend
Hmm.
to be very focused on the idea that I'm going to get trained. But whereas if it's more of a let's work together on this, they
Hmm.
might be more involved and probably take in the information with some sense of responsibility as well, not just I'm
Yeah,
going to be a witness and
yeah,
that trainee. So
yeah. Passively absorbing instead of actively participating, contributing. That's right. You have a point here, and maybe it was smart from this manager because by giving us a made up presentation, it gave us the tools to or the opportunity to apply this framework. If it was just a simple training, okay, you have to do this step and this activity, it wouldn't be as concrete. Here we were able to face problem and question that wouldn't have occurred if we were not working on the specific presentation. So yeah, you're right, this was probably a smart move from this person, this manager, to to do it. If
well,
he's listening,
it also
thank you
helps
very much.
on the framework and push it forward. So I think that was a good. How many times were you mentioned that the framework took a lot of time to put together,
Yes.
and you probably tested it in many
Hmm.
cases, your presentations
Yes.
and others. Did you found that you're still improving on it, or do you think you're now at a place where it's in a
Mature
good place?
state. Yeah,
In
yeah,
a good
that's a really good question. It definitely it evolved. For instance, the canvas now is one page. At the beginning, it was a mirror whiteboard with plenty of activities that it was hard for me to compress. But with experience, I saw how to do it. Now I'm not improving it as much. I'm improving the way I'm presenting it. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people who are using it, saying what they struggle. For instance, on the canvas, there is a storytelling activity that a lot of people, depending their nationality, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, a lot of people are struggling with. So eventually, I will have to improve this to clarify it. But no, at the moment, it's quite stable. But it's never final. Of course, it will evolve with trends, with learning, with different type of presentation and so on.
Mhm, mhm. No, but of course, I mean, any good work at some point needs evolution, and the fact that you're building it
Yes.
from feedback is the great thing to do. And for the audience out there, we will share some relevant links at the when we post the recording. But just so you know, if you go on Renaud's website, Presentation Sprint, you will find all the tools that he's talking
Hmm.
about, and you can actually check them out and try them out in your own presentations.
Hmm.
And then feedback, we need feedback.
Yes. I would love to hear anyone who has question, who like it or dislike it, who is stuck. Please contact me. I would love to help you there.
I mean, if they dislike it, they should specify why.
Yeah, definitely, but we can work it through. But I'm sure if somebody use it, genuinely want to improve and use it and is stuck or doesn't like it, I would love to hear. That's one of the things we'll have the opportunity to talk about the book. But not having negative feedback is really frustrating when you want to improve, we want to do better, and you feel like you've given in your all. Okay, I'm dry, I don't know what to do more, and all the feedback are, oh, it's really good, it's nice to read or it's nice to use. It's not really actionable as a feedback. So if anyone say no, this is wrong, or in the book this I don't believe it, or it doesn't work, I would love to hear it sincerely.
Completely agree. I think that's also a good segue to, I guess, my next curiosity is in terms of uh, the appropriate audience or industry that this framework applies to, if there is a specific one.
No, there is none. As far as I know, I've used it for different industry, IT, telco, energy, construction. It always work, no matter the presentation, not only for business presentation, also for any kind of presentation, keynote, and so on. Mainly because it's based on some universal principle, like knowing who is your audience, focusing on the most important thing, when to get the right feedback at the right moment. All of that is universal no matter the type of communication. I'm using the canvas, to be honest, for other type of communication, for videos, for blog posts, for panel interview. So it's really useful. I'm not advising it. Please focus on the presentation for now. When your presentation are good, then you can, use it for something else. But the concept are all the same. What do you want to do? How do you want the audience to feel? What do you want them to know or to do? What are your messages? Is the same everywhere. So it's not, dependent on an industry or type of presentation.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's great. That just makes it live forever.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope.
I
Let's hope.
think it's very difficult to get to the point where you can generalize some principles that you can apply in any kind of
Hmm.
environment to any kind of audience. So, kudos to you for taking the time to observe all of this and, put
Mm.
the framework together. I think it's really cool and definitely beneficial. I know I'm going to start using it because I feel I'm lacking certain principles in my
Hmm.
presentation skills. So,
Yeah.
um,
Thank you very much for this.
what do you see? You mentioned applicability in different types of environments, depending on your presentation, if it's in person, if
Hmm.
it's virtual, or in other ways. Do you see any limitations to the framework as is right now?
No,
Any
there is no limitation on the. Sorry.
or any constraints?
Well, no, there's no limitation on the topic, on the type of communication, presentation, indeed. It's also software agnostic. It's not depending on the software you're using. I'm using PowerPoint because in business, that's what most of us do in big corporation. But you can use the workflow for the build on Canva, Figma, Google Slide, anything. It's really not depending. I would say the only limitation is the willingness to do better. I'm always amazed by how low the bar is in corporate presentation, in business presentation. But if you want to do better, if you want to have more impact, to spend less time, definitely you can do it without any problem. So that's the only limitation, I would say.
So I would say, to add to this, as I was reading your book, and I know I've
Hmm.
been through the first chapter with the Coffee with Anna
Hmm.
um, chapter, which I really like. I think that Anna's enthusiasm and opportunity discovery when hearing that we need to make a presentation, and she saw that as an opportunity, I think that's probably where some of us are lacking, because we're probably thinking, oh my God, we have to do another
Yes.
presentation. So maybe, when you say that the bar is low, is probably because maybe people are not really understanding the point of the
Hmm.
presentation. Maybe they have to do it in certain cases, like you've experienced in your past situations where just the company principals ask for
Yes.
many
The culture.
presentations that
Mm.
are necessary. But you probably see that a lot in your coaching to different scenarios.
Okay, it's different because with the coaching, people who come to me usually want help, so they want to do better. But yeah, definitely. And I don't want to, throw stone at anyone. We are not taught how to do good presentation. When we learn how to do a presentation, it's, in the college or university, so it's made by teacher who do totally different type of presentation. Education presentation is not a business presentation. So we can learn from there. We can learn from looking around, communication, leadership, and so on. And they're usually quite bad also at it. So no one give us an example of what is a good presentation, something short, simple, sharp. So it's not really your fault if you're doing a bad presentation. It is your fault if you refuse to improve. That's a different topic. But yeah, people need to want to do better. And I'm really happy what you're saying about Anna, because indeed, so for people who don't know, in the book, we follow a story, because I always find that the presentation book are really dry. They are, too technical or too abstract. So I wanted a book that is easy to read and to follow along. So we're following John, a product manager, who has a presentation to do, and he will go through the different step of the framework with other people, as you say, Anna. And Anna indeed is the optimist in the story. She's the one who sees it as an opportunity. She's the one who know how easy it can be and how impactful good communication can be in their case too, get the budget that they have to approve. So thank you. I'm really happy that you spot this optimism in Anna, because I'm not
because I'm
a
not
writer, a
a
fiction
writer, a
writer.
fiction writer.
So that's really
So
good
that's
that this at least transpired in the
Yeah, no,
writing.
no, for sure. And it gave me, I'm usually a person who enjoys doing presentations, but sometimes if I
Mhm.
don't see the sense of it, I don't necessarily enjoy it. But when I was reading, and I really empathized with Anna's optimism in the book, and I also felt
Mhm.
engaged when I was reading the chapter. I was really thinking, oh, maybe I should do a presentation now. Yeah.
So that's funny. Actually, a couple of days ago, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I feel that the storyline following a case
Mhm.
study, and it's very easy to digest, and
Mhm.
it makes the book just a very refreshing read, but also very insightful.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for that. A couple of days, a colleague who is reading the book also told me that he was surprised because usually he read a lot of business book, but never at evening because it make him think too much about his own work. And he say by following somebody else in the business book, he was able to read it in bed at night because he didn't think about himself. He was thinking about the story, John, but also the concept in general. And indeed, at the end of reading before going to bed, he wanted to work on a presentation every time. So that was really, really fun to hear that even people who don't have presentation want to apply, want to try to test it, the couple of ideas that they see there. So that's a good news. Let's hope more people will get
So I would say I was probably also in the middle of the night.
it.
We can add a new concept then: presentations at midnight.
Yeah, we can. We can. I know some people do presentation to their family, especially during COVID. They were doing evening presentation. Everyone was presenting something. I'm sure you can find something to present to your family or your friend. That's fine with a drink.
So how is it perceived, because you have experience in your coaching and with
Hmm.
with different regions? How do you find there's different perceptions over the
Yes.
framework from different geographies, cultures?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I have to put a small disclaimer here. Everything I'm going to say now is based on my experience. So the people I met, I will generalize because there's a question, but that doesn't mean that everyone in this region act like that. Of course, everyone is different, and my sample is too small. But from my experience, there's really different approach to the framework. For instance, when I work with people from the US, usually the storytelling is ingrained in them. They know how to tell a story. They know the importance of telling a personal story from their culture, from their education. And I remember I was coaching this CEO in US who, when we were working on his all hands for his company, start talking about his faith, about his relationship to God, which is really personal. And as an European, it felt really strange to hear that. That's not something that we do in our environment. But for them, no, they know that it's important to share something personal, to be honest, to be transparent. It doesn't work for everyone, but for them, it does. So the US is quite open to it. On the other side, the European are a bit more, let's say, for them, communication, for many of them, communication is a dirty word. They don't really like communicating. For me, for them, it means it's nonsense or it's fake. So when I'm coaching them, again, they come to me, so they already know the importance of communication. But I have to be careful how I talk about storytelling and messaging and anecdote and so on, because they can be a bit defensive there. Also, as European, they tend to not follow rules that much. Having a framework make them scared. Some people say, but if I'm following a step by step, I will not be creative, which is totally wrong because at the moment they are not using a framework and their presentation are not creative. So there's no link there. And on top of that, because they are following a step by step guideline, they can focus on the presentation itself and not how to write it. So again, for European, it's a bit, there's more convincing to do, I would say. Indian people love it. Indian people, they love a framework, they love technical stuff. So again, I've been working mostly with technical people in India, so it's probably biased, but they love it. The only problem is because they are so rational, technical, detail oriented, they tend to put way too much on their slide, on their presentation, to say a lot. They they have a problem differentiating between noise and signal, so it's easy for them to overwhelm their audience with a lot of irrelevant details. In the, in the area of communication, being exhaustive, being too rational can be a problem if you want to really influence your audience. Finally, I think Middle East. I had a lot of people there. I don't have anything to say actually. They are all open to it. They like to follow. The manager that I was telling you about, who sent me his whole team, they were all from Egypt. So from Middle East, I didn't face a case where there was something specific. But overall, everyone can apply this framework. Everyone can learn something from it. Maybe not everything, but they can just take a few things, a few activity that will greatly improve their presentation.
I think that's great feedback coming in from all around the world, really.
Yeah,
Obviously, there will be differences between cultures, and
yeah.
um, but it's good to hear that still. That's probably where you step in as a coach. But for example, because you have the book, how do you find, or do you find any differences when people are from different regions are trying to use the book or the toolkit that's presented on the website that they can download?
Hmm.
Do they have to eventually reach out to you as well for coaching, or are they able to just use the toolkits?
A lot of people don't contact me. That's for sure. I see a lot of download, but few people contact me. A couple of people ask me some question. Again, specific activities such as the storytelling, which is a bit hard for the European. But no, overall, they should be able to use it. I don't have any problem. And if I had in the past, I evolved, I improved it. So as it is right now, the book and the toolkits, people should be able to use it on their own. I don't have any proof that they don't. Of course, if anyone has a question, start using it or anything, please contact me on LinkedIn. I will be more than happy to help you to get your feedback. But so far, it's quite easy to adapt. One thing I would say is on the canvas. Don't write on it. The canvas is like a business model canvas. It's a big one page. Don't write full sentences. I have a lot of people who say, oh, for this part, this is the audience, for instance. I will write the list of everyone and I will write everything I will say. No, try to force yourself to be short. Use sticky note or digital whiteboard if you can. It will allow you to go to the essence of your presentation without spending time on the how, the what, and so on. You really on the think phase. You focus on the why you're presenting.
So don't write on the canvas. Okay.
Yes. Don't write full sentences. That's
Full
the
sen-
main message on this one.
full
But
sentences.
that's to be honest, yes, that's the main issue I had. That's why in the toolkit that you can download now, I say explicitly use sticky notes or virtual digital sticky notes. But yeah, that's a problem. People were just writing, sending me for review the canvas, and it was a whole wall of text. You don't know where to start. So obviously, if it's confusing for them, it's confusing for the audience. So use digital sticky notes.
Right. Okay. Noted. So you created the concept, the framework.
Mhm.
When did the book start? When did the book creation happen? Was it simultaneous, or
No,
what
no, no.
triggered the book?
What triggered? That's a really good question. I need to think about this one. So the creation was really slow. As I said, I was starting to use it for me at the beginning. It was really different. I just started improving as I was working and delivering presentation. The book started 3 years ago when I realized that I couldn't help everyone. Again, when this manager came with his whole team to learn, I figured, okay, I need to share it with some people, but I felt like a training, a normal training, was not sufficient because it would be too abstract. So I was thinking about a way to use it as a case, following John in this book, And naturally, as I was preparing how to teach this framework, how to teach it to other people, writing a book felt the obvious solution, especially because at the end, it's quite big. It's way bigger than I had anticipated, and I still cut half of it in the different editing process. So having a book that people can have here, on the desk, put their coffee on it or anything like that, but something that they can always have around, and when they have a presentation, they quickly grab it, go to the page where they need it, and they can get inspiration from it. So that's how the book idea came up. Is just to be able to equip, because people in your audience right now, they know the importance of communication, the importance of influence. The problem is that they are not equipped to do it well. They don't know the process or the steps to follow. So with this book or with the toolkit that is free on the internet, they can start getting a bit better at preparing the presentation.
I think that's a great tool to have. And
Mm,
like you mentioned, you can't you aren't able to help everybody at the same time. It would be nice
yes.
though.
That would be great. Unfortunately, we're limited.
It
So,
sounds to
and
me like you can make a movie out of it.
yeah, actually, when I was the first script, because the book, like a presentation, that's exactly the same thing. Actually, I used a canvas for the first version of the book, but that's a different topic. That's a bit meta. But
Okay,
when I start
that's a good segue to the next question. We'll keep that in.
in the at the beginning, I shared the first script with people when I was writing the book, and the first script was just the table of content, then a description for each chapter, and I start already having this idea, so explaining the story that we'll be following. And somebody asked me, "Why do you write a book? Why not a comic?" Because they were, obsessed with comics in general, and they say that's the way you have the conversation and their interaction. They say just get a drawer, somebody to design the page, the some images or AI now, and make it as a comic book that you can go through it. I thought it was a really good idea. That's not
Mhm.
my intention, because there is a lot of things that don't fit in the comic book. Again, each chapter we start with the story and then we move to the nonfiction where I go in more into details, so it wouldn't fit. But yeah, I was thinking about having a bit more story format oriented, like a comic. For audiobook, maybe having real, voice actor to do the different character instead of having one person read everything. So yeah, there is some part of it, but it's really hard to do fiction. It's it's way harder than to do nonfiction, to be honest.
Yeah, and but no, but I think to your point and to whoever gave you the idea, you can have even a like a mix of both. I think it's an
Hmm.
area that, as you say, everybody knows the importance of
Hmm.
communication,
Yes.
at least in theory. But even if we don't know it, we still need it, and we won't probably take away presentations from our lives anytime soon.
No,
So
that's
we
for sure.
better we better get good at them because it's enjoyable rather than just having to do another task that we don't
Hmm.
like. So, at least make the best out of it. So
Yeah,
I think
but
there's
that's
a lot
a
of things we can explore. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we will see how it evolves. But that's a fair point when you say it can be enjoyable. Of course, I love it because I'm presentation coach, or I'm a presentation coach because I love it. I don't know which is which. But I was working with somebody on a conference, a keynote recently. And at the end, before he was delivering, he told me that he was really happy. He said, "I love working on presentation when it's well done." Because we had time to prepare the message, the design. He was proud of his slides. We rehearsed a lot in front of test audience. He had a good feedback, and he was excited to go on stage instead of being stressed. So that's really what I'm aiming here, is for people to enjoy doing presentation. Of course, I want them to do fewer presentation, faster preparation, and better communication. But if you have to do a communication or presentation, enjoy it.
What is the just a like a side note, because I do know
Mhm.
that some people or many people have stage fright. And whatever you
Yes.
want to call stage fright, it can be a virtual stage, it can be a physical
Yeah,
stage.
of course.
What do you think, in your experience, is the best recipe for them to come to enjoy presenting, even if they know their topic perfectly
Mhm.
well? How do you suggest that they overcome that stage fright?
Okay. So three things. The first thing is experience. You will always be afraid, scared before stepping onto a stage, but with experience, you learn to live with it, to manage it a bit better. Second one, I would say practice, practice, practice. There's a big difference between a speaker who has practice and a speaker who hasn't. The speaker who has practice, as I said earlier, they're excited because they know exactly what will happen. Usually, being afraid, being scared is about uncertainty. We don't know what will happen, what question would they ask, would they pay attention or not. When you've rehearsed it enough in front of different people and improve it, you know how people will react. You know what joke will work. You know what story will be emotional. By being prepared, this is how you can start enjoying the delivery phase. And the last thing I would say is the mindset. That we didn't talk about it yet, but one of the big part of the book is about the mindset to be a servant presenter instead of a selfish presenter. You are here as a presenter to give value to the audience. The audience is the hero of your presentation. They come, they have a problem, and you as a guide will give them a solution for them to overcome the different obstacles that they have. If you prepare your presentation like that, once you step onto the stage, you know that you're here for them. It's not about you. It's not about how you feel, your reputation, who you are, anything like that. It's about them. How can I give them value? How can I help them? And just this switch in the mindset often help people. When I coach somebody, I say, okay, do you think they will learn something from a presentation? They will get something. Do you think they need it? And people say, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so what's up? And they say, no, you're right, I have something to offer. It's not about my reputation, it's not about me, it's about them. And just having this mindset make them more at ease in order to really enjoy it. Because if they are stressed when they present, if it's confusing, if they don't really enjoy it, the audience won't, that's for sure. Audience need to feel like you are enjoying it, like you're having a good time, like you are here to share something, to again add value. So that's the three things: experience, practice, and the mindset.
I love the mindset part. To be honest, I feel that I was actually testing it out earlier in some of my
Okay.
presentations.
Okay, tell
While
me.
I was presenting, I was thinking of your framework, and I was thinking, this is for the audience, not for
Hmm.
you. It doesn't matter.
Definitely.
And I don't consider myself a person having stage fright, but
Hmm.
I think having that mindset is great because you can always get feedback from the audience towards something you present,
Hmm.
and you may be prepared for anything, but sometimes things happen and you get a reaction in
Definitely.
that can change your presentation direction to 180
Hmm.
degrees.
Yes,
So if
definitely.
you still keep in mind that you're there for them, I guess the way you react is probably more appropriate than if you're
Yes.
thinking that you're there for you and they just completely ruined your
Yeah,
presentation.
definitely. Oh, I wanted to say that. I can't. No, no, that's a really good point. It's not you against them. It's you with them against a problem that you're trying to solve. So they have a problem. The audience has a problem. Let's take an example. They want to. You want to approve a budget. Okay, from your audience perspective, why would they want to you know approve these budgets? Maybe they need to know for the financial forecast. Maybe you need this budget in order to improve the sales of some product or something like that, and they will be directly impacted by it. So by always wondering what's in it for them, what is their motivation, what is their problem that we're overcoming, no matter the presentation at the end, you will be able to refocus to how to give them what they need. Because indeed you can prepare a awesome presentation, perfect, but is, as you say, the audience don't feel like it. If you get the wrong information before, you you can say, okay, let's adjust, let's answer the question. I have direct feedback about what they want, what they don't want, and then you can just give them value a different way. But because you are prepared on this presentation, it would be really easy for you to pivot here.
And this is something that you advise through the framework that the presenter thinks about in the preparation stage as well, like different scenarios. In case, let's say, for example, you don't have a very good grasp before you present about what the
Hmm.
audience needs. So you might know, but you might be, kind of 50-50.
Yes. Yeah, so you never know, to be honest. It's always assumption. It's always the maybe the presentation organizer for the conference who give you some hint, but you never know until you deliver. That's the first the truth that we have to make peace with. In my framework, it depends on the type of presentation. If it's a whole all hands, is different than if it's a conference, that if it's a panel discussion. But in some presentation, yes, we have different option. We work more as a modular presentation with different parts that you can emphasize or not based on the feedback you get from the audience. So
Okay.
if you have more interaction, because presentation is often a discussion with the audience, if you get a specific question, then you can pivot, you can rearrange your presentation to focus more on what they want. Just one word of advice here: don't focus on one person. If you have 20% in the audience and one person is asking specific question, make sure that the other 19% are interested also in that. So there is some group dynamic here to be have. But yeah, listen to your audience. Just make sure that it interests everyone, not the one person who is not happy or who wants you to talk about his own problem, his own topic. This is not the point of the presentation. This is more one-to-one thing that you do afterward.
Okay. No, that's a very good point. That usually happens a lot in my experience, where one
Yeah.
person, but it's more of in a business environment. So I guess the person who
Yes.
usually has a problem is more of in a leadership position. So
Yes.
then I see pretty much everybody pivoting towards his or hers
Yeah.
um, satisfying their needs. But yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
No,
Um,
my pleasure.
so back to the book writing experience, because
Hmm.
I think we put a pause on that one for all the other great
Yeah.
ideas. How did you find it? And you said you actually applied the principles to some extent when writing the
Yes.
book, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thought about it before. That the think part. What do I want to do? Which format? That's how I found out. That I wanted a story to go along. The organization of the book is quite simple because we follow the three steps of the framework, so it made sense. But yeah, it was iterative when I built it. When I wrote. As I said, I first shared the table of content, then a more description, then the story, and I was sharing slowly like that. It was really informative with the feedback session because, for instance, everything went great at the beginning, the first draft, until I had one draft. I think I had 120,000 words, so it was really big, and of course nobody from my beta reader finished it. So it was a sad, but it was a learning in itself. And after that I cut it in half, just by uh, rephrasing or rethinking the way I was presenting the story. And then people were starting to finish the draft, to give me more feedback and so on. So yes, I apply the concept. Again, I'm not advising you, it's totally different topic. I'm not telling you how to write a book, but yeah, I was using it. The experience overall was really, really interesting. As I say, it's long. I think everyone should write a book, and we discussed it last time. I think everyone has something to say, not only for other, but writing clarify your your ideas, improve your knowledge, because you learn a lot when you write about something like that. Everything become purposeful. When I read a book or when I listen to a podcast, every time you will wonder, okay, how can I apply it to my book? What can I steal? What idea are really good that I can do in my book? So it makes you a better professional, no matter your domain, by writing a book like that. But yeah, keep in mind that it's really long. As I say, 3 years. It can be expensive. It was thousands of euro for me for the design, the editing, and so on. But it's definitely worth it. It's something that, if you can be proud of, it's a wonderful feeling. Today, I was giving a copy to my wife's colleague, and while I was signing it, and just giving it to somebody, for them, it's just a book, but for you, it's something that, okay, that will help him. That will make a difference, hopefully, in their life. So, if you can write a book, if you can, make sure you're proud of it.
That's amazing. I guess that answers my next question is what do you hope to achieve with presentation sprint?
Well, the
Is there
presentation speech.
anything else than changing somebody's life?
Well, yeah, at least changing the way they are doing presentation. But no, overall, I want us to stop wasting time on bad presentation. As I say, I want fewer presentation. Not everything need to be a presentation, definitely not. Faster preparation, just couple of hours is enough for most presentation. And of course, better communication, more impact. As I say, we expect business presentation to be long, boring, confusing. We're surprised when it's short, clear, and engaging. And I think all presentation should be like that. All presentation, business presentation should be 15, 20-minute maximum, should have story, should have, clear information, clear message that people can remember, clear call to action. Again, for me, it's basic. It's the universal principle. Unfortunately, not enough people know about it or know how to do it. So my hope with presentation sprint and the book or the tool that are again free for everyone, you don't need to pay anything, is to start helping in this direction.
That's awesome. I totally agree, relate, and I really love how you just want to not have bad presentations anymore.
Yeah, well, but
I I support you.
that's funny because when you ask somebody, okay, you attend this business presentation, how was it? Everyone was, oh, I don't know, I didn't understand much, it was confusing. I guess he was talking about that. But when they have to prepare, they do exactly the same. We have uh, a different expectation from other and from ourselves when it comes to presentation. And when I see some really bad presentation, I'm asking, why are you doing it like that? And usually they don't know. They say, oh, because I don't know, because I've always done it like that, because everyone does it like that. Everyone put their logo on each slide, even when it's a internal presentation. That's kind of thing that we don't think through. We just, yeah, let's do it again because we're not professional, we're not taught, and we have other thing to do. A project manager has more prefer to spend his time with his team managing the project itself rather than doing a presentation for some project update or something like that.
To this point, I find it impressive that in some, and I'm just speaking about some industries because I may
Hmm.
not be part of everything, but I noticed these roles, project manager, product manager,
Hmm.
program, portfolio. So all the roles that are involved in making presentations, when you get hired or when you're, doing your interview process, they ask you if you have presentation skills, but
Hmm.
that's pretty much where things are stopping. You start in the company, you get on a role that is high exposure for doing presentations.
Hmm.
Nobody really, takes back if they see that there's lagging. Nobody really invests in training in that regard. Not to mention that, going even further back into school, that
Yeah.
some schools don't, I mean, I don't know too many schools that actually teach about presentation skills to some extent. And to your point
Hmm.
earlier, our professors were, I remember me and my colleagues were really grading the worst of the worst. I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah,
they were
that's,
terrible. They weren't a good source of inspiration.
well, at least not for business presentation. Maybe for academic presentation, they are perfect, but it's two different beasts. So yeah, I agree
Yeah,
there.
I mean, they were perfect for an offline review, but then just
Yeah,
being there
probably.
reading from a slide.
Yeah, that's so many bad memories coming back. But
So
no, no, that's the.
I think you're
Sorry,
doing
go ahead.
an amazing job, and you're contributing to improving this globally, and hopefully your
Hmm.
message gets received and acknowledged by as many people as possible. So
Yeah.
any movies, comic books that you can do.
No, thank you very much for that. But to get back to your point, when people interview, do you have a presentation skill? And I helped some people, I coached some people who had to do presentation in order to get the job, for the interview.
Mhm.
Usually the person who ask are terrible at presentation. I've yet to see somebody who is asking, "Oh, do you have presentation?" who themselves are good at presenting. Because again, that's the culture. We do a lot of presentation. We write everything we'll be saying. So once a person is hired, fine, they are doing the same as everybody else, so we consider that as a presentation skill. And a lot of trainings, corporate trainings, are I want to be really careful here because I have a lot of presentation coach or trainer that might listen to that. They are, let's say, focusing on maybe the wrong problem. They are focusing on how to use PowerPoint, or they are focusing on how to, have work on your voice because it's a former singer or theater actor or something like that. But the business presentation is totally different. And the main problem we see is not that they don't know how to do this animation on PowerPoint or how to, speak with a deeper voice or something. No, that's details. That's not the main problem that we're having. That's not the root cause. So a lot of presentation training are not that good at fixing the root cause. They are probably really good at what they are doing. But if the person is bad at presenting and bad at preparation, that won't fix it.
That's true. A smarter animation between two horrible slides. Don't.
Exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So,
Oh,
and to be fair, that's why in the book I don't do much training on the presentation sprint, because I think you learn the best when you apply it. That's why I do a lot of coaching. Training, it's a bit harder. You need to be confronted to some real obstacle, to some real problem in order to, internalize the best practice that I'm sharing in the book or in the framework. But yeah, you need to go through it. You need to have, like the manager did, to have an opportunity to try it. You will not go from being bad or terrible to being Steve Jobs, but one presentation at a time. One presentation, the next one you will work on the message, then the next one on the delivery, next one on how to manage question. It's a lifelong journey to be a good communicator, a good speaker. Just don't put too much pressure on yourself. Grab what you can, the tools, the book, on any other resource that you have online from anyone, not only mine, and try to get better. That's really the main motivation here, is to do always a bit better, really small steps.
no, that's very. And I also find in my case, if I have a few people that I know are very prone to feedback, I usually tend
Hmm.
to ask. Um, and they help me throughout time to, and it doesn't have to be within the company or within your business
Hmm.
environment.
Yeah.
It can be people outside that could really, that you have faith in, that they would actually give you the feedback, that
Yeah,
feedback.
honest one. Mm.
Yeah. That also can help um, improving. But we're coming close to the end. However,
Hmm.
I feel like we are in a time where a question about AI cannot be skipped.
Hmm. Yeah, unfortunately.
What are your thoughts here about AI in regards to presentations?
AI will change the way we work in general, in corporate at least. Um, I think AI will change how we do presentation. At the moment, it's not quite there. For the think parts, AI can ask you question. An AI chat or anything can ask you, okay, who is your audience, what is the objective, and so on. But they will never do the coaching as a human would be. Understanding your context, understanding what you don't say, challenging you, questioning you, making some suggestion. At the moment, the technology is not there, so you will need a human. I think in the build phase, there's two things. The first one is that AI are biased. We know the way they are programmed, they are biased, and people who develop this AI for presentation, they're technical people. Their idea of what a good presentation is probably not the best. So at the moment, it's good if you want to create, as you say, an offline document, an offline presentation that is meant to be read, not to be presented. Then yes, you can use AI to do that. But it's for a live presentation or online presentation, it's better to go your own way without AI for the moment. That being said, in the build phase, one thing that I think the AI is totally changing for the better is the image. You need image in your presentation. That's not a question. There's a ton of research that show the power of a good image in a presentation. Until now, when you needed an image, you were going to this, generic stock image like Unsplash, Pexel, or some professional one that were really expensive with rights. You had to figure out, do I need the attribution? Can I use it commercially or not? Now, with DALL-E, with Midjourney, you can have the exact image you need. It forces you to be more intentional. You don't go on a stock image and scroll through and okay, I will take this one. No, you have to prompt it. You okay, I need a picture of two people, doing this in front of this. You will not have always the best picture, but you have the most intentional picture, the one that really does what you're trying to do. Maybe the whole slide would just be a picture because it's so well made, because it convey exactly what you're trying to show, what you're trying to inspire. So again, AI, we're not there yet for the think, for really developing it. For designing, I'm not fully convinced. For the AI generation of the image, definitely go for it. I think that's what most people will do. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's more, it will have more impact. So the impact on presentation from AI is mostly there for the couple of months, year, I would say. And talking about that, I think I will have to do an update of the book in 2 3 years to incorporate where we will have been, with AI, because it will change. So at the moment, I don't talk too much about it there, but I'm sure in 2 years, things in the book will need to be adapted to new workflow, new AI processes.
To bring in our AI friends.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, well, it's definitely an ever-changing world, and
Yes.
I guess it's interesting to see how things will change in the future. Hopefully, we won't
Mhm.
just rely strictly on AI to do our presentations. But
No, but if
on
it
the
allow people to spend less time to do better presentation, I'm all for it. Don't be, people need to be open-minded about this new technology. For instance, a technology that is not AI but has a huge impact in on the new generation is TikTok. Young people who come in company with a lot of TikTok experience, they know about short format, they know about storytelling, they know about image composition, lightning. So there's a lot of change in the behavior from people that come from new technology. So even though I know a lot of presentation coach hate AI, and a lot of people also feel threatened by AI, we should really embrace it. Maybe not the way it is right now, but on the potential, what it can bring us, how it can help us in the future, because it's coming no matter what. So let's make the best out of it.
totally, I love it. This is the perfect way to, I guess, close my
Mhm.
series of questions. Is there anything else that you want to kind of bring forward after this discussion, which was amazing? Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Uh, no, again, the framework is free, it's for everyone, every presentation. Go on presentation-print.com. We'll put the link you said. You can download the toolbox with a different tool. I also added the first two chapters of the book, so you can have an idea of how it feel if you're interested. If you want, pick up the book. It's on Amazon. It's a lot of tips, a lot of how to do it and what to do. So I hope you will be able to use it. One thing I'm asking, if you get the book, the paperback is better than the ebook because you can flip through. Please don't respect the book. I want you to write on it. I want you to put your coffee mug on it. I want it to live on your desk until you need to use it. I don't want you to take care of the book. I want you to take care of the presentation itself. So please grab the book if you want it. If you have any question, contact me. I would love to help you. I would love to hear your feedback on it. And I would love to see your presentation.
And splash it with coffee. I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly. No, but really, that's
Not the
uh,
presentation, just the book.
the presentation also, or coffee presentation. Why not? You can have a theme there. So
Thank you so much, Renat. This was a very enjoyable conversation, very insightful. I am very keen on going back to reading your book.
mhm.
And I do recommend the audience to do the same. Again, the recording will be out in all social media channels fairly soon with the appropriate links so that everybody can go and enjoy the tool, the amazing tools that you put together. Really appreciate your time today, and hope to hear more about you and Presentation Sprint in the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you for everyone who waited, who listened until now. And thank you for your amazing hosting and all the discussion we had the opportunity to have outside of this stream. It was really fun.
It was fun indeed. Okay, I will close the session now, but we'll see you soon, everybody. Bye bye.
Ciao.